My name's Sarah Connor, 35 years old, and last year I was desperate for a job after my husband and I were both laid off from our tech roles in Seattle. Bills were piling up, and our savings were dwindling fast. So when I landed a position at a mid-sized marketing firm, I was over the moon, even though it was a step down from my previous director-level role. The team seemed great, and my manager, Gary, was supportive. But then, I was handed off to Jane, another manager, who turned my life into a living nightmare. She micromanaged me, insulted me, and drove me to a breaking point. I quit in a blaze of fury, but that wasn't the end. Jane thought she'd won when I walked out, but she didn't know I'd come back 2 levels above her and make sure she paid for every moment of misery she caused. It all started in early 2024. After months of job rejections, I accepted a role as a project coordinator at the firm. It wasn't glamorous, coordinating between teams, managing schedules, tracking deliverables, but it paid the bills. Gary, my manager, was kind but swamped, so he assigned me to work under Jane, a senior manager in another department. My job was to be the liaison between Gary's team and Jane's, ensuring smooth communication. At first, I thought it'd be fine. Jane was polished, confident, and seemed professional. But within a week, I realized I'd walked into a trap. Jane didn't just manage, she controlled. She'd email me at 11 p.m. on weekends, demanding updates on projects that weren't due for weeks. She'd call during my lunch break, barking orders while I choked down a sandwich. She canceled my approved vacation days, saying, "We need you here, Sarah. Priorities." Worst of all, she made personal attacks. She'd comment on my weight, saying things like, "You're big for an Asian woman," or smirk when I wore a fitted dress. Once, she joked that I must eat too much rice. Her insults filled 3 pages of notes I kept in a private document, each one a stab at my confidence. I pushed back, politely but firmly, telling her to focus on my work, not my appearance. She hated that. My defiance only made her double down, her voice dripping with venom every time we spoke. I stayed because we had no choice. My husband was still jobless, and we were barely covering rent. But Jane's abuse wore me down. The breaking point came on a Friday afternoon in June. I was already fragile. My mother had passed away 2 weeks earlier, and I was juggling funeral arrangements and grief. Jane called me into a meeting and screamed at me for not inviting someone from her team to a scheduling session. "How could you be so incompetent, Sarah?" she yelled, her face red. It was a minor oversight, easily fixed, but she made it sound like I'd tanked the company. I snapped. Tears streamed down my face as I sat in the bathroom, shaking, unable to breathe. I'd hit my limit. That evening, I emailed Gary and poured out everything. Jane's micromanaging, her insults, her relentless demands. He called me immediately, his voice full of concern. "Sarah, I'm so sorry. I've heard this about Jane before. Half her team quit last year." He offered to move me to a new team under his direct supervision, no Jane involved. I was thrilled, thinking I'd finally escaped. The new team was great, collaborative, respectful, everything I'd hoped for. But Jane wasn't done with me. She kept emailing me, demanding I consult her on projects that no longer involved her. When I ignored her, she showed up at my desk one day, loudly declaring, "Sarah's not qualified for this role. She's a liability." Heads turned, and my face burned with humiliation. Gary overheard and stepped in, his voice sharp. "Jane, that's enough. Leave her alone." She backed off, but the damage was done. Her emails didn't stop, each one a passive-aggressive jab. 2 months into the new team, I couldn't take it anymore. I was done being her punching bag. I sat at my desk late one night, typing a resignation letter that laid bare every insult, every late-night call, every canceled vacation. I attached my 3-page list of Jane's offenses and CC'd the entire company. Every employee, every manager, even HR. I hit send, packed my things, and walked out, head high, no regrets. Gary called the next day, begging me to stay. He offered flexible hours, a raise, anything to keep me. "Sarah, you're one of our best. We'll figure this out." But I was firm. "Gary, I won't stay unless Jane's gone. She's toxic, and HR's done nothing despite 5 complaints." He sighed, admitting he didn't have the power to fire her. Jane's manager was in Europe, and HR's inaction protected her. So I left, telling everyone exactly why. The team was stunned, but I felt free, even if freedom came with a cost. The next 3 months were brutal. My husband found a part-time gig, but it barely covered our mortgage. We ate bread for dinner some nights, scraping by to pay for emergency medical bills and my mother's funeral. I applied to 5 to 20 jobs a day, my confidence battered by rejections. I questioned everything, my skills, my worth. But I kept going because giving up wasn't an option. Then, in September, I saw a memo online. Michael Chen, a big-shot executive I'd worked with at a competitor years ago, had joined my old firm as a VP. I'd been a director back then, collaborating closely with Michael on major campaigns. On a whim, I texted him, "Congrats on the new role. Let me know if you need insights on the place." He called within an hour. We chatted about the firm's strengths and weaknesses, where they could innovate. I kept it professional, focusing on strategy. At the end, he surprised me. "Sarah, I need a chief of staff. Someone I trust, someone who knows the ropes. Want the job?" I froze. Chief of staff was 2 levels above Jane, reporting directly to Michael. I accepted on the spot, my heart racing. This wasn't just a job. It was a chance to come back stronger. My first day back was electric. The all-hands meeting was held in a massive conference room. VPs and directors packed in to welcome Michael. He gave a speech, casually mentioning me as his chief of staff, alongside other key hires. I sat there, composed, watching Jane's face across the room. Her jaw dropped, her eyes wide with shock. Gary caught my eye and grinned, giving me a subtle thumbs up. Jane, though, was seething. I could practically feel her fury from 20 feet away. That afternoon, Michael forwarded me an email from Jane. It was a venomous rant, calling me an unqualified idiot who tried to get her fired and lied to get ahead. She even claimed I'd been her subordinate, conveniently ignoring my director-level experience. Michael asked, "What's this about?" I took a deep breath, my nerves tingling with excitement. This was my moment. I scheduled an hour with Michael and laid it all out. I told him Jane was a bully who'd driven half her team to quit, including me. I showed him my resignation letter, still on my desktop from when I'd logged back in. Gary confirmed the turnover. Jane's entire team had left in the 3 months I was gone. I also shared emails Jane had sent to her recent staff, full of the same nasty tone she'd used on me. Her former team members, fed up with her, happily forwarded them. I explained my history with Michael, how I'd been a director at his old company, so chief of staff wasn't a stretch. "Jane's bad for this company," I said. "She's toxic, and the evidence proves it." Michael listened, his face unreadable. He thanked me and said he'd handle it. That Friday, I got a text from Gary. "Jane's gone. Fired this morning." I stared at my phone, a grin spreading across my face. Michael had acted fast, using my evidence and Gary's confirmation to convince HR and Jane's overseas manager. Jane's reign of terror was over, and I'd made it happen without raising my voice. I sat in my own office, a corner space with a view of the Seattle skyline. My husband's new job was stable, and we were finally catching up on bills. The team respected me, and Michael leaned on my insights to drive the company forward. Jane's firing spread like wildfire. People whispered about how I'd come back and taken her down. I didn't gloat, but I didn't hide my satisfaction either. Jane had made my life hell, thinking she could break me. Instead, I rose higher, and she lost everything. As I sipped my coffee, looking out at the city, I thought of her packing her desk, her smugness gone. Thanks for the push, Jane. It only made me stronger.